Good morning, Bitcoins, and welcome to Mad Bitcoins Live. Let's just get right into it. Go into the screen share. Ooh, a logo. Last night, I had a great interview with Vinny Lingham. It started out slow, but then it really got going. Vinny and I had a lot of common ground, and I was really impressed to hear him talk and to hear his opinions and his ideas on Bitcoin scaling. I don't know if you guys watched the interview yet, but I think we really came together on a singular idea, and that's the idea I'd like to present to you today. And Benny used to be called the Bitcoin Oracle, but I predict in the future he'll be called the Bitcoin Gandhi. I really enjoyed this Photoshop. I think it's fun. I think we're going to see a lot more ideas around that vein, because the idea that we're doing now going forward is that we should have unified Bitcoin, that we need to unify Bitcoin. We need to bring these two sides together, and we need to think about how much weaker we would be after a hard fork and how much weaker we would be separate, and that we have an incredible strength together. And we all have strengths and weaknesses, and there's been a contentious debate, and both sides have resorted to name calling and meme code and all kinds of other ideas that we didn't even know were possible before from Bitcoiners. Bitcoin on Bitcoin violence. And we have to stop now. We have to take a deep breath. We have to step back, and we have to say, we need patience, and we need the other side. Whichever side you're on, I want you to try to slow down, take a deep breath, take a step back, and think about who's the real opponent here. Who did we get into this for? I got into this because I like Bitcoin as a currency. I'm not a fan of the banks. I'm not going to say they're my enemy. Banks are people, corporations are people, whatever. That's a deeper issue. But if we look at it on a large scale, I have so much more in common with my fellow Bitcoiner than I do with a bank or a corporate person. We're arguing over hashing power. We're arguing over block size. These are insane ideas to a banker. These are insane ideas to a corporation. But we know them because we're Bitcoiners. And that's what I want you to think about today. And that's going to be the goal of this series going forward, is the unification of Bitcoin. I was hoping we'd find a third way. I wasn't very pleased with the two ways that I saw out there, and I'm excited about this third way that Vinny and I have come together on. And I just really appreciated his conversation and him donating his time yesterday to this project. Like I said on Twitter this morning, we are more like our fellow Bitcoiners than anyone else. Why separate into two weaker groups when we can be one strong one? And I know people think that this debate has gone really far, and that we've broken into camps, and that we're about to fork and we're about to go to war. But I'd like to slow that down, and I'd like to call that back, and I'd like us to unify. And if you're out there and you've got a Photoshop, or maybe you've got one of those websites that adds captions to an image, I'd like to see your work today. I'd like to see everyone watching this create at least one Photoshop or one captioned image with the idea of forgiveness, moving on, and unifying. I'd like to see us working together. Certainly the ideas of Revolutionary War memes are right there. Some George Washington would be nice. Tonight on Mad Bitcoins at 7:30 p.m. PST, we'll be featuring Jimmy Song, Bitcoin developer and entrepreneur. And we'll be discussing some of his Medium articles as well as his opinion on scaling and unifying Bitcoin. Jimmy wrote a great article recently on February 20th. I guess it's a little old, but the link's down below. And what Jimmy says is why Bitcoin will get scaling without Segwit or large blocks. And what he's talking about, I think, goes hand in hand with this unification argument that Bitcoin can go forward, that Segwit's at 20% and the forks at 50, 60%. Neither of them have 95%. Neither of them have done the work of consensus. And I think when we look at the work of consensus, doing nothing, staying unified, that's our consensus. We can't split up. We can't have two sides. We can't become altcoins. We're not going to. And that's my opinion. At least that's what I'm going to stand for. So I look forward to talking to Jimmy tonight. We'll hopefully have more of his views and his opinions. We've also had some great tweets out there. I'd like to thank my friend Rhett for sending a tweet to Jihan Wu. And again, remember, please be respectful. Please be polite if you're going to reach out to someone else on the internet. And what Rhett said is he said, "Hi, Jihan Wu. I'm a proud Bitcoin Unlimited member. Please do Mad Bitcoin show to explain why so many miners signal unlimited. Thank you." And I'm really interested in getting Jihan's perspective. I've talked to a person who speaks Mandarin. We can get a translator. I'm willing to wake up at all hours of the night to do this interview. Not sure about the translator, but I hope they have similar dedication, or perhaps Jihan has a translator, or for all I know, he speaks English, with all respect. But I really would like to speak to him, and I'd like to get his perspective on the miners. And I would like to understand what the miners are unclear about with Segwit, what they don't like. And mainly, I'd like them to understand that we are stronger together and that we need them, and we're not going to leave them. We're not going to split up. That's my goal. I also made a fun little graphic, hat tip to Philippe for developing the form and the style of this graphic. I edited it a little. But I said to Jihan, I said, I went ahead and made you one of these graphics to save you time if you agree to be on. So I hope that he'll see this and maybe have a chuckle or a smile and consider being on the show to discuss mining. If you have other ideas for guests for the Mad Bitcoin Scaling and Unifying Bitcoin show, please let me know on Twitter. If you'd like to reach out to them in a polite way, say, hey, I appreciate your views and opinions. I think you'd be good on this Mad Bitcoin show. It sounds a little crazy, but he's been doing real solid hour-long interviews in the evenings, just talking about scaling. And now, as I said, talking about unifying Bitcoin. That's something that we're going to do together. And I couldn't do it without you. So you're a big part of that. And then at 3 o'clock today, PST, we've got, as usual, the Bitcoin group on the World Crypto Network. If you guys want to go over to worldcryptonetwork.com, give us a subscribe. This is a really great show. I've been doing it every week for the past 2 or 3 years. And I try to get some friends and experts together, and we talk about the issues in Bitcoin. It's obviously an homage to my favorite political show, the McLaughlin Group, with the amazing moderator, John McLaughlin, who passed away last year. Rest in peace, John McLaughlin. An incredible interview show. He has a bit of a sartorial style. He was a professor. He was nicknamed Professor God. He has an incredible memory, incredible talent. He was a Jesuit priest. He knew the Bible. He knew how to describe things. He knew about metaphors, and he knew about politics and foreign relations. And John McLaughlin really taught me a lot by meeting every Friday, every week with his group. And I hope to honor him with our group. And we'll be meeting this Friday at 3 o'clock. It's usually more exciting to watch than to hear me talk about. But that's the schedule for today. We've got Bitcoin group 3 o'clock and Scaling Bitcoin at 7:30. These are both in the Pacific time zone. If you can't watch then, they'll be available on YouTube later. If you can't do the live chat, you can put a comment on that video, give us a like, give us a subscribe, maybe a share. This helps more people find the videos. And that's about all I had planned for this live show. I was just going to go ahead and say, if you like the work I've been doing, feel free to send me a tip. Bitcoin still works. And due to popular request, I've agreed to take a few altcoins if you want to send a smaller donation that you would worry be eaten up by the current high fees. But if you're going to send a donation that's worth the fees, you can send some Bitcoin. Otherwise, I've got Ethereum and Dash addresses on my website if that's your kind of thing. But thanks so much for everyone supporting the show. Let's remember to focus on unity. We now have a third way provided by Vinny Lingham in last night's interview. This is what we've been looking for. If you're not a member of the core Segwit, if you're not a member of Rogers Unlimited, if you want a third way and you want to keep Bitcoin together and you want to understand the other side and you want to bring them back in, and you say, I understand fees are high, and I understand Segwit moves slow, and I understand that code is complicated, but I need you guys. I can't lose 30, 70% of the hash power. The people with the hash power, you can't lose the brains. We've got some good guys in core. We've got some great people in the community. We can't be separated. We can't have a civil war. This is not going to happen. We're going to unify Bitcoin, and we're going to unify Bitcoin together. And I'm going to need your guys' help. Everyone has a part in this, and you don't have to be great at Photoshop, and you don't have to be great at talking. You don't have to be great at coding. You can just be a part of this, and you can help push this forward, because together we're going to unify Bitcoin. Thank you so much for watching this show. And as promised yesterday, until next time, this has been Mad Bitcoins. Mad Bitcoins? Mad Bitcoin.